Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our driver ratings for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It was a race I thought was a lot of fun, and we have a driver in here which we've never given a rating before, so isn't that exciting? Now, last week for the Bahrain Grand Prix, I was incredibly generous and I gave some scores that some people disagreed with, and that's fine. You're allowed to disagree. I won't be changing the scores, but you're allowed to disagree. This week, less generosity. We're not going to be giving people higher scores just because it's the first race. Well, apart from maybe one. And, I think in this race, compared to the Bahrain race, there were some results that happened because the driver wasn't good enough. So there are some lower scores in this week, and we'll get into all of that right now. So here we go, everyone. Here is the scoreboard. Here is the driver photos. Are we ready to go with possibly the hardest person to rate from the entire race, and that's Kevin Magnussen? Because let's have a look at this. Look at his race. So, qualified 13th, right? Decent qualifying for the Haas. The highest qualifying of both Haases. So, very good qualifying for Kevin Magnussen. Then he gets into the race. He squeezes Alexander Albon into a wall, gets a 10-second penalty. He overtakes Yuki Tsunoda, then goes off the track, gets a 10-second penalty, so has 20 seconds worth of penalties and has ruined two drivers' races. Then from there is used as the master of what I called poo-housery yesterday in the review video because I can't say the S word, otherwise I won't get my 65 pence worth of money from this video. So Kevin Magnussen then has a masterclass in defensive driving to secure Haas 1 point. Incredible scenes. So, some fantastic driving from Kevin Magnussen, mixed with some shocking driving from Kevin Magnussen, to give him the result of P12, which should have been P15, but because he didn't get lapped, and Ocon did, the 20 seconds of penalties apparently didn't get applied all the way down the grid. It was just to there. So he actually gained some positions despite the penalty, which is madness. The ultimate master of poo-housery from Kevin Magnussen, I'm giving him an 8 because it was an incredible drive despite everything. On pace-wise, Yuki Tsunoda should have had P10, I reckon. Yuki Tsunoda probably shouldn't have been overtaken by Kevin Magnussen and then should have been able to go from there and probably would have got past Hulk and Joe because they had to pit, and it would be going here going, oh yeah, a point for the Racing Bills and a great result for my fantasy team. But no, Kevin Magnussen ruined my fantasy team with some fantastic defensive driving. Again, we talked about his defensive driving last week in Bahrain where he stopped the Racing Bills from getting a point yet again. And here we are again, Kevin Magnussen doing a good job despite having an awful first half of the race. And it's just a very strange one for him. And I imagine there's going to be some people giving him like a 4 or whatever. But I just respect the poo-housery. So an 8 out of 10 for Kevin Magnussen. Let's go across to his teammate though, Nico Hülkenberg. I think he was the only driver to really benefit from not pitting underneath the safety car. It was him, Zhou, Lewis and Norris. And I think he was the only one who actually benefited from it. I think everyone else would have done better if they pitted. So, for actually making that work, due to the fantastic teamwork between him and Magnussen, getting a point for the Haas in the second race of the year, when we're going into the year saying the Haas is going to be the worst F1 car to ever exist, you've got to celebrate that. A 10 out of 10 for Nico Hülkenberg. Well done, Nico. Fantastic stuff. Let's go from the Haas team to a team which is becoming more and more embarrassing as the weeks go on. So, Zhou, crashed in FP3. They managed to fix the car with like 2 minutes left in Q1. Despite this, they're still not able to set a lap time at I think they're like 5 seconds away from crossing the line to set a lap time. So Zhou doesn't set a time, starts 20th, then in the race itself, doesn't pit under the safety car, is P11 for the majority of the race. Then I think the team just forgot he was out there or forgot he had to pit. pits super late, like ridiculously late, and then has a really, really slow pit stop and finishes last of everyone who was running. What an awful time. You know what? It goes to show that I don't think there's anyone sensible on the Stake F1 team Kick Sauber strategy team by the fact that Valtteri Bottas had pitted twice before Zhou had pitted once. How does that make any sense at all? Bottas was on the softs to end the race before Zhou was. I don't understand it at all. And, it's a hard one to score because, obviously Zhou's not controlling the strategy. That's not on him. But also, if he hadn't crashed an FP3, maybe he would be a bit further up the grid to start with, and maybe they wouldn't have to go, oh, we'll take a risk and not pit him. I'm going to give Zhou a 4, because I just think, I don't know what was going on there. I mean, it could be worse. It could be Valtteri Bottas. So Bottas did actually qualify, and he qualified 16th. He pitted under the safety car and was just at the back for the entire race. At one point, Sargent overtook him, which is bad enough as it is. I don't think he was ever even in the Magnussen train. He wasn't fast enough. Towards the end of the race, they pit him for softs before they pit Zhou for softs. Still does nothing. Is only not last because Zhou's pit stop lasted half an hour. I mean, it's not good, is it? I don't know, a 2? Is that too harsh? I don't know. I put 3 down on my note paper here, but I'm going to give him a 2 because, I mean, you get a point for turning up. And he did qualify reasonably well. 16th is okay for the Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber car. Apart from that, pretty rubbish. Racing Bills, the team that is breaking my heart every week because not only do I have Yuki Tsunoda on my fantasy team, not only do I have Daniel Ricciardo on my fantasy team, but I have the Racing Bills as a constructor on my fantasy team, and it is destroying me. They keep on saying they're going to get good. When are you going to get good? I need to win my fantasy league. Yuki Tsunoda, qualifying, really good. P9 in qualifying, fantastic result there in qualifying. Then it all went wrong. I think he pitted under the safety car for sure, and it seems like something went wrong for both guys under that safety car pit stop because they went massively down the order. Because I think he came in like P11, somewhere around there. Then he was towards the back. Then the incident with Magnussen happened, where Magnussen overtook him off the track, didn't give the place back. Then he was just stuck behind Magnussen for the majority of the race. I think he got very aggressive with Magnussen at the start, which destroyed his tyres, which then meant when he was in that train, his tyres were gone, and the likes of Albon and Ocon were able to get past him. Eventually finishing 15th. It's really just disappointing for Yuki. I'm giving him a 4. I mean, he had the pace to be 10th, I think, yesterday. But, he just wasn't able to carry that through because I think he just destroyed his tyres, so there you go, P4 for Yuki Tsunoda. Not good, but again, it could be worse. Oh, look, here's Daniel Ricciardo. So, Ricciardo, awful qualifying, qualifies 14th. Once again, pits under safety car, and I think I don't know what happened, but he came out dead last. From there, it took him forever to catch the back of the Magnussen train, and then once he's at the back of the Magnussen train, spins for no reason whatsoever. There's all this talk of, is Ricciardo going to be in the Red Bull next year? From this performance, no, this was nowhere near good enough. The wonderful irony that I think Drive to Survive will love is that when Ricciardo spun, Sergio Perez lapped him. So there's something to look at for Drive to Survive if you haven't got that clip already. Awful race for Ricciardo. I'm giving him a 1. Really, really just bad. It's madness. I don't know what happened this weekend. You look at a track like the Saudi track and you go, that's a track where Ricciardo should do well, and he just didn't. And it's just mad because this is his McLaren form. The end of last year he was really good, really strong, and then he's just come in this year and it's not all connecting yet, and I hope it does come together for him because I like him. I think he's a good guy, he's a good driver, But as of so far, really just not good enough from Ricciardo, and hopefully that will improve as we go through the year. We'll go across to the Williams now of Logan Sargent, who had a bit of an interesting one. Qualified 19th, so he was the last of all the guys to actually set a lap time. Only Zhou behind him who didn't set a time, getting beaten by the Alpines, which is not a good look. But he did finish the race in 14th, in that queue of Magnussen. Got a couple overtakes in. Did fine. I mean, it's a 5 or a 4. And I am leaning towards a 4 just because he was last in qualifying. So I'll give him a 4 for now, but I think overall it was an okay day for Logan Sargent. He finished the race, which is more than can be said for others. Here's Alexander Albon. A pretty good one for him, to be fair. Qualified 12th, decent performance there. Got hit by Magnussen, having had some damage to the front wing, so wasn't as fast as he possibly could be, but still finished the race in P11. I mean, that's a good showing from him. I think overall this year, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a little bit disappointed with some of his results, but I think he's doing all right, and I think on the day where everything goes mad, he'll be there to collect some points for the Williams team, and it'll definitely happen. So, 7 points for Alexander Albon. Alpines, and it's Esteban Ocon. He had an interesting one. Once again, the highest qualifier of the two Alpines in P17. And then you know what? He actually had a very good race in that Alpine, which is awful, finishing 13th, which I think is a very good result for that awful car. Made some good overtakes, was very aggressive, made the move stick. Would have been 12th if Magnussen's penalty had been applied by time and not by laps. I'm giving Ocon an 8, and that might seem a bit strong there, but that Alpine is dreadful. And to be 13th, beating both the Racing Bills, beat Sargent as well, beat the Stake F1 team Kick Saubers, good results for Esteban Ocon. Definitely could be worse. Oh, here's Pierre Gasly. So Gasly qualified 18th, so just behind Ocon. Had a gearbox problem on the formation lap, did 3/4 of the first lap, and then retired the car. I mean, it's a very hard one to race because he didn't do anything. He qualified, and, it was an alright qualifying. He wasn't miles off Ocon. I don't really know what to give him. I mean, last year, who DNF'd, I just gave them a 5. But I feel like, he didn't even do one lap. And it's not his fault, obviously. But I am just going to give him a 4. Because there isn't really much I can go off of. He might have done really well in the race if the car could actually make it to the race. He definitely could have done worse. Oh, look, it's Lance Stroll. Oh, my God. So, qualified 10th, which in my qualifying reaction video, I said I was a bit disappointed with 10th for Stroll, because I think the Aston was a little bit better than 10th. But, 10th overall, still an okay qualifying position. Then, we get into the race, so what was it, like 6 laps in, something like that? Clips the corner and crashes into a wall. Clips the exact same corner that he clipped in practice. So, hit the same wall twice. So not a great race for Lance Stroll at this point. And the thing you've got to remember as well about Lance Stroll here is you have someone like Ollie Behrman who has only ever driven this track in Formula 2, had one practice session, and I think he might have tapped the wall once a little bit in qualifying. And you have someone like Lance Stroll who has got all the races that he's ever done and hit the exact same corner twice, whilst in a good position. I was singing his praises last weekend about how fantastic I thought he was in Bahrain. Then we come across to Saudi Arabia and we revert to typical Lance Stroll. I don't know. I've written down to give him a 2 here on my notepad, but I don't see why it's not a 1. Maybe his qualifying was decent, but he was still quite a bit off Alonso. I'm going to give him a 1. It's an awful race for Lance Stroll. To crash that early in, when you're in a decent position, definitely could have, gotten better. The only person to DNF from a mistake of their own. It's not looking good for Lance, and he had such a good weekend as well last weekend, so it's a bit of a disappointment. But you know who isn't a disappointment? Fernando Alonso, another fantastic weekend for Alonso. Qualified 4th, finishes the race in 5th. I think massively outperforming the Aston here. I would have expected one of the Mercedes to beat him here this weekend. But yeah, really good job from Fernando Alonso. Seemed to be kind of racing his own little race for like the second half of it. But yeah, controlled it really well. Did a good job. I'm going to give him a 9. Good result for Fernando Alonso. And another good result for Oscar Piastri in the McLaren. So he qualified 5th, finished the race in 4th. Highest qualifier and highest finisher of the McLaren team. Did a really good job. I'm going to give him a 9 as well. Good job, Oscar Piastri. Across to Lando Norris now, another one of those guys who stayed out during the safety car, and I don't think it benefited him. I mean, he got 5 laps in the lead to add to his stats, if that's an important thing for him. But I think overall, didn't really help because he was defending guys who were always going to pass him, and then kind of just went backwards from there. Was able to get a bit of pace towards the end, but I think there wasn't enough laps for him to catch the likes of Behrman. Finishes the race in 8th after starting 6th. Don't know, it's a hard one. I'll give him a 7, I think. I think a 7 is quite fair. I wrote 5 down originally. I don't think that's fair at all, actually. A 7 is really good because I think the reason he went backwards wasn't his own fault. And his race itself was actually pretty decent. Across to this man, Ollie Behrman, the stop-and-go F1, F2 Driver of the Year 2023. And you know what? I have an eye for talent, because he did fantastically here. Qualified in P11, just 0.036 off of Lewis Hamilton in P10, that far off getting into Q3. Then went in the race, had a fantastic job, really, really aggressive driving, got some overtakes in, finishes the race in P7. Just a fantastic, fantastic thing. I've seen some people be like, oh, it's not that impressive. He was in a Ferrari, that's a really fast car. And anyway, when Lewis Hamilton on his debut, he got a podium. And it's like, let's think of some context here, fellas. Come on now. You know, he had one practice session in this car, on a track which is incredibly difficult for a race length that he's never done before. This was an impossibly difficult task for him, and not only did he succeed, he excelled. You know, people talk about Lewis Hamilton got a podium on his debut. Yeah, Lewis Hamilton had thousands and thousands of miles worth of practice time in Formula One cars before he went to that race, and was in the best car on the grid. You know, it's the amount of people who want to put down this 18-year-old lad for doing well, it's madness. He gets a 10 out of 10. He was perfect. Well done, Ollie Behrman. I think from that result alone, he has signed his F1 contract next year, probably with Haas. But yeah, fantastic. I've been saying he's the best for ages. Now everyone else can agree. It's no longer cool to like Ollie Behrman now because everyone knows how good he is, which is a shame. But Ollie Behrman, great guy. 10 out of 10. His teammate Charles Leclerc qualified on the front row yet again. A fantastic qualifying from Charles Leclerc. Finished the race in P3, getting his first podium of the year. I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. Yeah, I think maybe that's a bit harsh, but he's not Ollie Behrman. He's had loads of experience in a Formula One car before. But yeah, 9 out of 10 for Leclerc, but still a fantastic race for him. Going across to the Mercedes now, George Russell. So Russell qualifies 7th, finishes the race in 6th. A bit of an eventful one for Russell. He's just kind of there, qualified under the safety car. Not qualified under the safety car, pitted under the safety car. Yeah, was just kind of there. Yeah, I'm going to give him a 7. I think that's fine for Russell. Hamilton as well, the last of the guys that we have to speak about who didn't pit under the safety car. He qualified 8th, so a bit of a disappointing qualifying for Lewis yet again. Finishes the race in 9th, so did go backwards. I think that was due to not pitting under the safety car. Defended against Piastri fantastically for lap after lap after lap. That was very good. But yeah, I think was just kind of screwed over by strategy here. I'll give him an 8, just because I think what he actually did with the car was very good. Was kind of let down by the team there. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for Lewis Hamilton. Sergio Perez, another good result for him. Qualified third, finished the race in second. I'll give him a 9 out of 10 for Checo there. Wasn't too far off the back of Max this time round. Got a 5-second penalty for an unsafe release, which obviously is out of his control. But, built the gap to Leclerc perfectly so that the penalty was never any concern for him at all. And you know what? Sergio Perez, he's doing it again. He's having another good start to the year. This is what he always does. He comes out the gates, does very well, tends to fall off in the middle, then come back towards the end. But, if the season was to finish today, Sergio's got his hands on a Red Bull contract renewal. The way this is going, 2 P2s in a row. Fantastic stuff for Checo Perez. And then only one man to talk about now. It is Max Verstappen. He qualified first, finished the race in first, but didn't lead every lap. That was Lando Norris got his 5 laps in, so it's only good enough for a 4 out of 10 for Max Verstappen today. Should have led every lap. Didn't get fast lap either, actually, so let's change that to a 2. Yeah, 2 out of 10 for Max Verstappen. He's really not good enough. I expect a lot better from him. He should be getting a Grand Slam in every race, especially with that car, because Max Verstappen actually isn't a very good driver at all, I've discovered. It's just all the car. You could put a monkey in there and they'd get a Grand Slam. So, yeah, 2 out of 10 for Max, apart from the fact that was all rubbish. So he gets a 10. Fantastic. Another great race from Max. Yeah, didn't get the fastest lap, which, I would have liked for my fantasy team. And, it should have led every lap, but I think it would be naive to not pay attention to that safety car, and we saw only Hülkenberg really benefited from it, so the right call from Red Bull to destroy the Grand Slam at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in order to secure the race win, which is the most important thing. Yeah, championship leader, 9 race wins in a row, which is madness. In the last 20 races, Max won 10 in a row, lost 1, then won 9 in a row. He has the first and second longest win streaks in the history of Formula 1 in the last 20 races. That's insane. I remember not too long ago, there was a big discussion of Sebastian Vettel's 9 race wins in a row will never be beaten. And everyone kind of accepted, yeah, that 9 race wins in a row, that will never, ever be beaten. That is fantastic stuff. Max has beaten it and equalled it twice in the last 20 races. And, Australia's coming up. He might beat it again. And he might beat his own record. It's madness. And, yet again, people are going, oh, he has the fastest car, he has the fastest car, he has the fastest car. Well, we have 70 years worth of Formula 1 people having the fastest car. Michael Schumacher had the fastest car. Lewis Hamilton had the fastest car. Neither of them ever got near to 9 in a row. Never mind 10 in a row. It's fantastic stuff from Max Verstappen. Easily the best driver on the grid, with the best car on the grid. And if people want to still put him down at this point, you probably just don't like him. And that's just the truth of the matter. Fantastic stuff, again, from Max Verstappen. There you go. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time for All Stuff Australian Grand Prix. But in the meantime, there may be no F1 on, but there will be a video up here on Friday. I am desperately going to try and get it made. I have it written. I just need to finish it. So that will be out on Friday. That's what we do here when there's no F1 on. There's just like a more long edited, I said there, and bigger edited video will be on the channel on Friday. And then on Saturday we'll have the weekly news roundup, and trust me, there will be some news to talk about on Saturday, because news is non-stop in the world of F1 at the minute. So we will see all of that next week, so make sure you subscribe for all of that. Until then though, I will see you next time. Have a good one. Goodbye.